Hello and welcome back to the Making It podcast. We are here for episode 55. Hello. Dan threatened me as I was on my way home to say that I need to come and do the podcast now. He's like, if you're not back home in 20 minutes, I'm going to bash you. No, not really. But welcome back to the podcast. It's good to be back for another week of talking about our week, but also just talking about a few things that we've kind of noticed along the way. Now, we try not to talk too much in the pre-chat, as much as I love a good pre-chat, because it is quite nice to have a very authentic, off-the-bat kind of conversation. But we threw some ideas out there. And before we kind of get into them, though, Dan, welcome back, mate. 55 episodes in, 3 into the new year already. We're nearly in February already. Can you believe it? How's your week been?
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. It's been a deep but also insightful week. Been back in Newcastle for a week, and then I went back home over the weekend for a Saturday night out for Jacob, Harry, and Millie's 21st, which was really good. Went out
Happy
Friday
birthday.
night as well for Scarlett's birthday, which was on the Tuesday, where we went for a really nice meal on Tuesday. Um, but yeah, I think this week has been an interesting one for me because I've come to realize a few things about myself, which I already knew existed, but I've opened myself up more to them. So I'm looking forward to diving into that. But no, it's been a good week back, and then had a nice bit of time at home, and then now I'm back in Newcastle for the foreseeable future. So I'm looking forward to talking about how the week's been. But how are you, my friend?
No, it's good. It's good to hear you back, bro. I know it's an interesting time for you when you're moving between Nottingham and Newcastle, and obviously you're always moving between the two for various different things. And Dan's been drinking more than me recently, which is not something we say too often, actually. So congratulations, Dan. But yeah, no, just been a bit of a tough one, the last day or so. Obviously, Dec's gone home now, so it's just me. Not just me. There's a lot of people that live in Australia, but it's quite a few. There's a few million others than me. But no, Dec's gone home. It was really yesterday was tough. When he waves goodbye, it was just like it was like leaving home again. It felt like that. It almost felt like I was leaving in like a sort of selfish, egotistical view of it. Like I was like shit. That why is he going? I should be the one going. I've been here longer. You know what I mean? And it's like God. It's that was a bit, a bit upsetting, but had the best time. Me and him, we've had our moments together. We've had good times, tough times. Shit, we got no money times. Shit, we got too much money. Let's blow it times. We've had loads of fun. So it's good that he's come out and had this experience. I know he's dying to get home to his girlfriend and his family. So he's currently somewhere over like Turkmenistan or something like that, or Russia. I don't know where he is, somewhere around that way. So so he's on his way home now. He'll be home in the next, well, by the time I wake up, which is really nice. So gonna miss him. It's tough. Never a feeling like I've experienced before, but I'm happy for him. So other than that, a few issues with the landlord, as you know, Dan. Sorting my week out. I've been getting back into my fitness. Back at the gym. Did a 8.5K run as well last week, which I'm
Let's go.
pretty buzzing about. So Dan's been nagging me for time to get into the running, and I just went out one night and did the biggest run I've ever done in my life. So I feel like mentally way stronger. I feel like I've got more control over what I want to do, what I want to achieve. I don't know what I can put that down to though, Dan. Maybe it's just the fact that I've got that willingness to do good things. I think in the world and the age we live in, it kind of go into social media, like there's so many ideas and opportunities that it actually becomes a little bit overwhelming. Like, because I'm someone that likes to look at new things and look at what's going on and then like invest myself into stuff. And sometimes I just invest myself into so much stuff that I'm like, Jesus Christ, like you've only got this amount of time. Like you got to relax and just try and like find something you bloody love. But I think social media just like it almost points you in like a million different directions of what you need to be as a person. And I almost wonder whether they're kind of concocting an algorithm that kind of just makes you so confused to the point where you don't go and do any of these things and you actually just stay still and you just become this robot. I kind of wonder.
Mm.
That's like a crazy conspiracy theory there, but like It must confuse you as well, Dan. Like I've tried to make the best algorithm possible for my Instagram and whatever else, and I try not to use it too much, but the reality is I do. And it's like the whole image thing as well, like we were discussing in the pre-chat, like it doesn't just give you so many different things to think about from a career point of view, but also like how you look, like just constantly pushing stuff at you. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think what you're speaking about is tying into what I wanted to dive into. And I was listening to Modern Wisdom again, and it was Jordan Peterson this time, and he said
Very
how
hard.
we can get absorbed by the idea of who we could be, the idea of things, to the point we have this bridge between the idea and the actual reality, and that can cause us to be quite miserable. It can cause us to be quite upset, and it can cause us to be chasing things a lot. And I think that's what social media can do in itself. Well, I think it is what it does in itself. It's an idea, it's an image that we compare ourselves to every day, and I completely agree. I remember watching a social media thing on Netflix that my dad got quite invested into, and it's just about how the algorithm keeps us in a loop, keeps us looking at things we want to look at, as we know. And it's right, it keeps us stagnant, and we can get too absorbed in this cycle and nothing happens because realistically, yes, you can see some really good videos on social media that make you feel a certain way and can inspire you, but it gets to a point where you've got to take some action on those. But the whole idea of image is very interesting, and I think the things I wanted to dive into this week from my week was some things I realized about myself, which knew existed, but some things happened this week to make me realize them. So a couple of examples. So on Scarlett's birthday, I said a stupid joke and she wasn't the most happy about it, and I felt like I'm not very good with dealing when I've done something wrong, right? And I remember when I was a kid, and there was this one time when me and my brother Ben were in my dad's car, and we thought we broke his CD like disc in his car. And something I used to do as a kid was sometimes when I got told off, it'd be like mid afternoon, and I'd get in my pajamas and like go to bed, and like I'd want my parents to like feel sorry for me because I didn't like the fact I'd done something wrong. I didn't like being in that area of feeling. And when I did the joke which upset Scarlett a little bit, I then went silent, and like I'm wanting her to to feel bad for me. Like I know it sounds quite bad that I'm doing that, but I've noticed that's what I do because I don't like being in a place where I've upset someone or done something wrong. And on Friday we were in an Uber on a night out, and the Uber driver was like ripping into me, and like everyone was like, all my friends and Scarlett and stuff were like having a go with it too. And obviously, I was playing it up as well that I was going along with it, but really, it was actually upsetting me. And I realised that I remember at times, when you're back in school and you're with your friends, and there's that when you're younger, there's quite a toxic environment with young males at times where you're all picking at each other, you're all getting at each other. And there were times where you have to kind of put like a stiff upper lip to it. And it almost reminded me of that. And it kind of brought that feeling back to me. And I felt a bit overwhelmed. And then afterwards, I was a bit upset about it. And then I was being silent. I was hoping Scarlett would come and ask me what's wrong. And like, it made me realize there's a few things from my childhood that do make me feel a certain way when things then happen in the present moment. Now I'm at this age of 21, and it was quite nice to realize these things. And me and Scarlett went for a coffee yesterday, and we spoke about it, and I was open about it. And like you said to me, give someone the opportunity to understand. They may never understand, but give them that opportunity. And it made me think to myself, and I think the listener can think about this, is in your life, what are feelings and emotions that you almost hide to yourself? What are things that do bug you, but you suppress and you feel like you don't want to talk about because maybe it's going to grow the problem, or it's something which you're scared to talk about? And I think that's the image side of things. Me in that Uber trying to make it look like I was enjoying it when I wasn't really. You're putting on an image, you're putting on a front, and what in your life are you putting an image to, or what are things in your life which are an image which you're judging yourself off? And I think we have to be very careful between that bridge of image and reality, and we have to understand our realities more. But Jamie, in terms of that sort of topic, what are realities in your life or things right now which you potentially suppress yourself or hide to yourself because you want to kind of put up that image, or that sort of performative narrative?
Well, I think as well, like maybe we should like define the performative thing. I think that maybe you weren't necessarily doing something that's performative, because I don't think you were trying to play up to a higher standard. I just think you were trying to play at the standard that people were at in that taxi, which is taking the piss out of you. You know, you didn't put on a monocle and a crown and suddenly be like, oh, this is way more funny than I thought it would be. You know, or do something.
Maybe I didn't know what performative meant.
You know,
Really.
I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. But like, I would say that maybe feelings or actions that I hide. Maybe sometimes I've said this before. Maybe sometimes I don't say no enough, you know, to things. With respect to like dating and stuff, maybe there's sometimes where I lower my standard a little bit for the sake of being like, it's been a while, or, you know, like I feel like I could be. I don't think maybe with just with everything. I think maybe with everything, I suppress my feelings towards attachment because I don't want to be seen as weak. And the reality is that when I do find a good group of friends or I do find someone that I like, I do tend to grip on a little bit. And I kind of try and hide that feeling. But in the process of hiding that feeling, I make myself look stupid. And I feel stupid because it hurts a lot, you know? And it's kind of a hard topic to talk to with someone because some people feel put off by that. But like, you know, the feelings that you felt in that taxi, the feelings that I feel when I'm attached to someone, they stem from something deeper. And so it's important that you don't try and make someone understand your issues that you've had in the past, but you just give them the opportunity. No one has to understand what we've been through, Dan. Big or small things, they don't have to. But if you like someone enough, if you respect someone enough, if you love someone enough, and you'd like to see your relationship with them improve or repair or get better or be more durable, then give them the opportunity to understand your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses. And then it's up to the goodness of them to determine whether they should be in your life or not. If they don't want to understand your stuff, maybe you don't need them in your life. And it'll hurt. It's rubbish. There's 8 billion people in the world. And, you know, the important thing to realize is, and I'm still finding this hard, so I'm not going to say that this is a fix, this is easier said than done, is that there is other people out there. I don't view people as numbers, Dan, but at the end of the day, like, if someone mistreats you, why should you spend all your time worrying about them? If someone doesn't reply to you, why should you spend all your time worrying about them? And yeah, in a way, I'm kind of saying this to clear this out of my mind and to give myself reassurance. But that's okay. Why not do that?
But that's the modern culture, isn't it? Where, you know, I think there's a lot of things as well which ties into this sort of thing of like what are realities that people kind of hide from, and I think young people growing up now do stress about being left unopened on Snapchat or a message not being replied to for a good few minutes. Like, it's a very, very toxic thing, and it's something we have to be aware of.
Sorry, I was just going to cut in because obviously I already had a problem with it anyway, just stemming from being a kid, you know. So I already had this issue, and then I think the faster communication and the need for the faster communication has definitely made it worse, bro. It's definitely made it worse. But I know ways that I can counter it, and you know, in 2026, by 2027, I'd like to think that this year I would have learned a lot about that. You know, I've gone out and bought a book on it. You know, I'm trying to read studies on it. I'm trying to read things on it because it is an issue that I will probably always have. But it's about how you deal with it, you know? And I would say that I've dealt with a lot of things way better, like motivation, bro. I always send you pretty much every morning now a video that I've watched on YouTube. And I know you say don't go down that path of just looking for motivation videos, but it isn't that. I'm looking for other perspectives, right?
Are you getting sucked into the motivation hype?
No, not really, because at the end of the day, bro, I go and do my own thing when I want to go and do it. Like last night, we were meant to do the podcast last night, and admittedly, I was like, I need to go to the gym. I got other things to do tomorrow. I need to just go and do it. And my motivation is like, Dan, when I come home, I want to be able to look myself in the mirror and be like, you're looking good, man. Like, you've put the work in. I like that because I've put the work in, and we always speak about football as a topic, the things we've taken risks with, bro. And I know it was something that your dad mentioned, and I think it'd be cool to discuss it. because the viewers' like opinions is important to this podcast. It's nice to see people getting involved, and but we don't talk about things that maybe we've done before. But bro, I've worked hard on my podcast that I've done before, my work, my news work. I've worked hard on football stuff, like not related to coaching, like so many different things, bro. And it's like, well, why don't I just start working on how, if it will make me feel better, my fitness, getting a little bit bigger, and like, why shouldn't I do that? I work hard at everything else, but but myself really.
Why do you think it is that you've kind of, because you have exercise, you played football growing up.
Yeah.
You have got into running before. That's not something you've never done before. You've tried to go to the gym, but why do you think you aren't as consistent at times as you could be with exercise? Why is that something you think you haven't been as productive with at times?
Because to be honest, it's fucking boring, right? And I've always attached me becoming a better person with my projects and my work. So I've
Is that
always thought,
exciting?
yeah, because they're exciting, bro. There's this opportunity. Like I find an opportunity and I'm like, I'm invested. I'm invested. I'm invested. But going for a run's boring. Lifting weights is boring. So you have to tailor your vision a little bit different. Before, when I first went to the gym, a few years ago or whatever, didn't last long. You post it on your Instagram. You're taking pictures. You're writing posts about it. The next time you go, you take a few less, but like your motivation changes. So now instead of doing it for someone else's eyes on social media, and don't get me wrong, bro, I'd be fucking lying if I said, hey, I don't want to get bigger so someone can compliment it, because that's great. That's great. But I need to start seeing my own mental and physical self as a project, something that I can build and I can make into something. And in the last 2 weeks, I'm doing, my exercise in the mornings. I'm eating good food. Like I'm eating a lot more food than I used to. I'm spending more on myself, my food, my fitness, these things, and I'm just giving it a go because I do
What's
think I
your
slipped into some bad habits.
what's your why at the moment for doing that? Have you got a stronger why? Maybe that's why you're doing it more. Is it the
Well,
looking good,
obviously,
feeling good?
probably, bro, a bit of both. Like, when I go to the gym, I usually don't feel that good. I'm usually tired. I'm usually not asked. But I'm like, come on, like, let's get it. Like, let's get it. And then you one exercise in, you're picking that weight up and you're like, feels good. And then you finish your set and you're like, I've got to do another one. But it's like, this is what you're working for, bro. You feel that pump and you're like, you look at yourself in the mirror and maybe you give yourself a little cheeky, like, oh, okay, you look good. You know what I mean? And you're like, this is good. And maybe there hasn't been any improvement since last week, bro. But in my mind, I see it. That might be delusion or it might be fact. I don't give a shit. I feel better. So placebo or not, if you feel better, then it's good. When it
Something
comes
I
to it.
had to think about yesterday was decision making, and I'd be interested to know how you are when it comes to making decisions. And I think it's very interesting, really, because our decisions do lead towards everything in life. You could decide to walk down one path or go down the other, and they could take you to completely different places. And I think maybe sometimes we do overthink decisions because they do feel important.
Yeah.
And yesterday, in fact, before I go into that bit, on another Modern Wisdom episode, Naval was on it, and he said something which did stick with me, and it was, if you're debating something, the answer is don't do it. If you're debating something, say no, because that means you don't truly want to do it. I can't fully remember what he meant when he said if you're debating between two other things, when it's not a yes or no. I'll have to replay that bit. But so I've started doing this thing now where I'm when I'm notice I'm debating a decision, I go, well, maybe I don't want to do it then. Maybe it doesn't align with me, and I'm struggling to say no to it. Now I completely agree with that, but something happened yesterday which made me realize I've got a bit of a different aspect to it. And when it comes to opportunity decision making, I got asked by Sean yesterday at training if I wanted to help him out on Wednesday with the freeze. And at first, I felt quite scared about doing that because it's a step. I've never done work with one of the frees before, and I was a bit worried about maybe I was an imposter, as we've spoken about before. And I also had a couple of things on that day, but then which were meeting a friend to do a YouTube video, which I could definitely move to another day, and I'm watching the football games. And then after I first turned it down, I thought to myself, why did I say no to helping out with the freeze? Like, why would I do that? Um, and then I realized I was just scared to say yes because I was scared of the opportunity. And so I called up my friend, and we said it's completely fine to do the YouTube thing another day. And I realized, why would I not get involved with a team as opposed to just going to watch? Um, and I realized for me, maybe sometimes with my decisions, okay, I'm debating a decision. Okay, is it because it doesn't align with me and I'm struggling to say yes? Okay, say no then. Or is it because I'm scared? If so, say yes. And then it's got to be, okay, am I going to perceive this as a threat or a challenge? So I drew out a little model for myself, which is what I've just said in an image. And so I'm happy now. I'm excited for Wednesday. I'm excited to help out the freeze, and I'm glad I've said yes to that now. When it comes to making decisions, I know a lot of people who do overthink over decision making and really struggle to make a decision because it feels like a decision can change our life. It can feel like that, especially with certain ones like where you're going to go for uni, where you're going to travel. And I know you had an interesting question from someone this week in terms of your traveling. So when it comes to decision making, how are you with it? Do you overthink? Are certain things you're better at being decisive with? What's your relationship with decision making?
Well, the answer to do you overthink is yes to pretty much everything. Like, that's just the way I am. Deck will tell you the same thing, and will tell you that when we've been here, I've been so stressed sometimes. I just go for, like, lunatic. And sometimes in my defense, it plays out like this whole rent thing. But anyway, that's another thing. When it comes to decision making, it's for me, I think that sometimes I can be a little bit of a control freak, which is sort of okay because it's my life.
What do you mean
But
by that?
well, sometimes I have an idea and I really don't want to deviate from it if I'm working in a team. Or, like, there's two types of decision making, right? Decisions I make for me, or there's three decisions I make for me, decisions I make for us, decisions I make for you. Because the decisions I make for me, personal things, am I going to cook tonight? Am I going to do this? Decisions I make for us could be anything, like what time we do a podcast, or, decisions I make for you would be if there was some sort of hierarchy sort of thing. So it's not necessarily related to me or you. It's just three different visions. And I feel like when it comes to decision making, if there is someone else in the fold to impact that decision, sometimes I second guess myself to the point where I'm like, it's now not my decision and I can't do it. Like, if I have an idea, the best thing I can do is go for it, say my idea, and act on it. The worst thing for me to do is to think about it for the next 10 minutes because I know I just spiral. So for me, decision making is really important. And it's something that I'd like to get better at when it comes to remembering that going off instinct actually is not a bad thing to do. I've gone off instinct way more than usual lately, and it served me pretty well. I've slept better. I've started going out and doing more things. I've started letting loose a little bit, Dan, to be honest. Like, we had a birthday party on Sunday, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm that keen. Like, I want to go, but I don't know if I'm that keen. I'm like, come on, man. You don't know how long you're here for. I'm getting home at like 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, I think I was pretty keen. You know what I mean? Like 2 in the afternoon to like 2 in the morning, like you're having a few beers. And there's always one moment that stuck with me a bit when it came to decision making that still irks me a little bit. When we lost that grand final with Gold Coast United, there was just one decision that we needed to make to win that game. And it was to swap the goalkeepers, right? And the toughest part about that is that it taught me a massive lesson about decision making. Decision making is a lot more long term than you think it is. In the short term, when it came to that game, Dan, we needed to make a decision and we needed to change. And it hurt that my decision, I wasn't in control of the overall decision. But one thing that Mikey said, and I think that we can definitely take into our football, is that good people make good players. And he'd rather make good people than teams with loads of trophies and stuff like that. And it made me think about like decision making. Like you might have that one moment where you don't execute or it's taken out of your hands, but it's about the intention. And I think I've kind of gone off topic from what I wanted to kind of say at the start, but I did also want to kind of say that because that's something that for some reason, bro, I don't know why I've been thinking about it. I think it's because my stopwatch keeps going off under my bed at 3 a.m. And it makes me think of when I was back at football. But sometimes it's really hard to not think about the pressure of the moment. Like you're in the moment. I've been checking for when I'm going to get my flights home. All of a sudden, when I'm checking flights home, I'm like, oh God, where's my deposit money? Oh God,
Does
when do
this
I
make
get
the
that?
decision harder?
It does because you link your decision making to other things. And it's like, take it one step at a time. That's what I need to do. I'm like, you're checking your flights home. Don't worry about the money just yet because that isn't your objective today. Your objective is to check this one thing. So make your decision for one thing. The problem is you layer your decisions and then you feel like you're playing Jenga, you feel like that one decision I'm pulling away, everything's falling apart. It doesn't need to be like that. Imagine you're building the Jenga rather than pulling it apart. That's how you should view decision making. And like I say, it's really important. Like you mentioned, someone asked me about traveling. It was Steve. And he was like, I said to him, I'd like to go and travel Southeast Asia and I'd like to go and do another bit of time in Australia for sure in the next few years. And he was like, what about a career though? And it made me think, Jesus, I overthought a little bit. And then I'm like, but I'm young. I can have a career here. You can have a career anywhere in the world. It doesn't need to be in your family business or in your hometown or your home city. You can have a career anywhere in the world. One thing that Australia's made me realize, and I will know this more when I go home, is that little box of home will always be there. But you don't have to be stuck there. There's opportunities everywhere in the world. It's just who wants them. And like, the most important decisions you can make are to just give yourself the chance to breathe, to think about things still, of course, but like, just act on your instinct, man, and just give things a go.
Yeah,
And don't.
no, I completely agree. And the breathing and pausing thing I think is important. I said to myself yesterday, next time I'm making a decision, like I was at training yesterday, pause. You don't need to answer straight away. I
Mm,
think sometimes I understand what you're saying about the pressures of a decision. It can either make us make them quicker or make a wrong decision. And the trusting your instincts thing is very important. I'm pretty sure we spoke about this a couple
we did.
weeks ago. But your instincts tied to your nervous system, to your brain, and it's your subconscious and all your built up experiences of life are telling you something from your experiences. You should do this or you shouldn't do that. So we
Mm.
definitely should be listening to that.
Well, can I
Um,
ask you as well, bro, just before we jump off the topic, like when you're about to make a substitution, other than that man for man swap, what do you go and think of after? Like, because I know for a fact you don't just go, yeah, I'll swap Billy on for Joe. You know what I mean, or whatever, whoever it is. Like, do you go from thinking swapping man for man to, but what if this goes wrong? What if that goes? Like it's like a queue of things that are like,
Yeah, of course. It's never as simple as just you swap someone. Like you're thinking about how they're going to react. You're thinking about how it's going to impact the game. You're thinking about how other people are going to think about it. There's so much that goes into that, and that's where I completely agree with the whole pressure thing. And maybe that's something we should be aware of with when we make a decision. Where are these pressures coming from? Are they genuine? Or are they something that really needs to impact that decision? Um, and yeah, just to go off the decision making topic, there was just something I really wanted to share this week, which I heard. And I know as people, as humans, we all have we have these things which we have bad habits, right? We have things we do in our life which we can get annoyed at ourselves at, which constantly sort of loop. Um, and these things we can judge ourselves from a lot. And something I heard was, sometimes there's no surprise that someone's miserable because they're constantly judging themselves off their lowest temptations, their lowest regrets, their lowest guilts, their lowest moments. And we have a negative bias as humans. So I just wanted to say to the listener, and I wanted to mention it on this podcast today, is those things that you do consider negative in your life, are you constantly looping over them and judging yourself over them and almost putting a wall in between those negative things in your life, the bad habits, and the things that you actually are doing very well? Can you break down that wall and actually understand, okay, maybe I should judge myself off the good things I'm doing as well, and understand that these almost, if you want to class them as negative elements of my life, aren't all me. They're just some part of me. I just wanted to share that today because I think a lot of us can judge ourselves off our lowest moments and habits in life when there's actually so much more that we have going on. We just like to pick out the negatives.
Absolutely, bro. Listen, at the end of the day, like, people always jump towards the negatives, but lots of positives going on, man. Lots of positives in your life, my life, Dan. Like, look in the mirror, man. Everyone just look in the mirror, like, when you get home, and pick out some of the good things you're doing, man. Like, we're all doing bad shit. We're all doing bad, annoying stuff that we hate. We all have bad habits. We get it. And you don't have to fix it all at once. But your intention, start every day with that intention to be different and to make those changes. And one thing I've actually started doing is I've actually got a paper diary now, and I write down things I'm doing and like events I've got planned, and it's like, have some fun. I don't know. I mentioned it. I got Deftones tickets, man. Like, I was thinking the other day, do I come home a little bit earlier, like April or March, because I am missing home. The homesickness is hitting. And it's like, it feels like that last week before I came home, the last time I was in Byron Bay on holiday. It feels like that now. And I've got 5 months to go or whatever it is, and it's like, but I'm going to see Winderkid in Melbourne. I'm going to go see all the lads up in Gold Coast for football. I'm going to go see Deftones. Like, got all these things to look forward to, And another exciting thing is you haven't got a clue what you're doing tomorrow or next week or what's going to happen. So bloody enjoy it. That's what I say. But that is episode 55 of the Making It podcast. Another good episode. And Dan, hopefully next week we'll be able to talk about even more good stuff.
There's just one more thing I also wanted to say, which is something I thought about this week, which is when it comes to imposter syndrome, I just thought to myself, everybody's been somewhere for the first time once. So just remember that one.
Boom. Love that, bro. Absolutely. Keep thinking. Send us in your thoughts. Send us in your questions. makingitpoddy@gmail.com or makingitpoddy on wherever you get your social media. Hit us up. We'd love to speak to you. Episode 55. Have a great week. We'll see you
Thanks for listening.
next week. Ciao.